These are among the darkest hours for Europe since the end of World War II.
Moscow has already reduced the amount of gas it supplies.
A global shortage of computer chips.
No hay chips suficientes como para abastecer a toda la industria.
This is the first time that our company in its history has led a project of this magnitude. Hola, buenos días. Bienvenidos a Casa SEAT. Good morning and welcome to SEAT's annual press conference. Thank you for all attending, whether here in person in Barcelona or online around the world. Just before I begin, I'd like to welcome Laura Carnicero, Vice President for People and Organization, and Markus Haupt, Vice President responsible for production and logistics, who both joined our board last year. I'd also like to thank our union representatives, Matias Canero and Rafa Guerrero, for joining us here today. We live in very challenging times. Our industry is undergoing a huge transformation while in the middle of a perfect storm. Amidst the war in Ukraine, we face continued shortage of semiconductors and restricted access to raw materials. However, I believe this perfect storm has helped to accelerate our transformation. And last year, we took historic decisions that created the beginning, I think, of a new chapter in our company's history. A chapter of transformation towards electrification and a more profitable business model. This company has a clear direction. With its strategic priorities, it's creating a platform for sustainable and competitive growth. The strategic decisions we took last year, from prioritizing higher margin Cupra vehicles to implementing a new cost reduction program, will guarantee long-term stability for the company. And that's why I'm pleased to share that in 2022, our turnover was more than 10.5 billion euros. To put that into context, it represents the second highest turnover in our company's 73-year history. David Powells will explain the financial figures in more detail shortly. But it's important to point out that we hit this figure, this record figure, with 30% less volume in sales compared to the pre-pandemic times, and despite not fulfilling our full production potential due to the lack of semiconductors. The company's global production remained at similar levels in 2021, with 480,000 cars manufactured, whilst production at Martorell decreased by 4.8% to 367,000 cars. But our company is resilient, and by continuing our transformation, challenging the status quo and investing in the future, I'm optimistic we'll weather the storm. For a truly successful future, we must ensure we put in place not just the right foundations, but the right industrial base now. And that's why SEAT, the Volkswagen Group, PowerCo, and the Future Fast Forward partners accepted the PERTIVEC resolution and agreed to invest a record 10 billion euros in Spain. This is the largest single industrial investment in Spanish history. We are starting to turn Spain into an electric vehicle hub for all of Europe. The F3 project is transforming the Spanish automotive industry, securing thousands of jobs and driving the country's competitiveness. No other investment in Spain on this scale is moving at such speed. And I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank the group of 52 companies who are making this project reality, together with the Spanish central and regional governments. Our transformation from combustion to electrification requires flexibility and stability. We know we have to reshape the way we work to be more competitive. Signing a new collective agreement last year has given us flexibility, and implementing a one-off contract suspension plan ensures the company is leaner and more robust in the long term. I'll now turn to how our brands, SEAT and CUPRA, performed last year. The lack of semiconductors inevitably impacted sales, with deliveries of the SEAT brand down 41%. That said, there were a number of highlights for the SEAT brand. The Arona continued to be SEAT's sales leader, and in October, we hit a major milestone by selling the brand's 1 millionth SUV. But more importantly, demand for SEAT remains very high, and we are already seeing positive signs that production is recovering as semiconductor supply improves. As for CUPRA, we hit new heights in 2022. With the CUPRA Formentor leading the way, CUPRA almost doubled its sales to over 150,000 cars last year. CUPRA cemented its position as the fastest growing car brand in Europe. And its top markets, CUPRA's top markets in terms of sales, were Germany, the UK, Spain, Italy, France, and Austria. And you can see the substantial growth achieved in each of these markets. We also saw a great response and growth in Mexico, Turkey, and Israel. Our ambition with CUPRA has always been to inspire the world from Barcelona and to be one of Spain's truly global brands. And last year, we took a major step in our globalization with the launch of CUPRA in Australia. Australia is our first market with a whole new business model, combining full digital sales and agency model. And I'm happy to say we are already exceeding expectations in this market. We also launched CUPRA in Colombia and Chile, and opened CUPRA City garages in Lisbon, Rotterdam, and Sydney, extending our global network of our flagship stores. And if you remember, in June last year, we returned to Terramar and introduced 3 new electrified models to the world: the CUPRA Tavascan, the CUPRA Terramar, and the CUPRA Urban Rebel. Now, these are more than just cars to us. The Tavascan, CUPRA's second fully electric car, will be a crossover SUV that combines emotion and electric performance. The Terramar, a cool, sporty, electrified vehicle, will move us up market to the hotspot of the SUVs. And our Urban Rebel, which proves that electric cars can be sexy, fun to drive, and not simply boring and just functional. And if we talk about electrification, sportiness, and emotional experience, this is what CUPRA Motorsport strategy is all about. In 2022, we won the ETCR Championship, claiming the drivers and constructors titles for the 2nd year in a row. And we also continue to participate in the Extreme E-Series. And at the end of the year, end of last year, we announced CUPRA's entrance into Formula E. Formula E is a platform for the future, and for a new generation of car lovers who want to see the excitement of electric motorsports on the streets across the globe. Of course, all of these fantastic results wouldn't have been possible, we wouldn't have achieved them without our 14,000 employees. And I would now like to take the opportunity to thank them in Spanish. Gracias a todos por vuestro esfuerzo, compromiso y flexibilidad. No podríamos haber llegado hasta aquí sin vosotros. Juntos estamos dando forma a un futuro eléctrico y vosotros sois la clave y el motor de nuestra empresa. Now, in a few moments, I will explain how we are accelerating our transformation that began last year. But before I do that, David Powers will now take you through the financial figures for 2022. David, over to you.
Thank you, Wayne. Buenos dias, good morning, guten Morgen. My closing comment at this event last year was that 2022 would be the year of turnaround and that we were on the right path to profitability. I'm pleased to be able to share with you the significant progress that we've made during the past 12 months. And 2022 was indeed a turnaround year. Let me start by highlighting some of the challenges we faced during 2022. Persistent inflation, a difficult macroeconomic and geopolitical situation with significant negative external influences on our business, as well as the ongoing semiconductor shortage, impacts from the war in the Ukraine, and high commodity prices and high energy prices. But despite these external influences and challenges during 2022, we achieved a significant financial turnaround and made a big step forward in securing sustainable stability and profitability. Our operating profit before the effect of a one-time restructuring cost provision of 293 million euros improved by 550 million euros versus 2021. This represents an improvement in our return on sales percentage of 5.7 percentage points, from a negative return on sales percent of 4% in 2021 to a positive return on sales of 1.7% in 2022. Our after-tax result was 68 million euros positive and improved by 324 million euros versus 2021. The results that we are showing today are those of SEAT SA, the single legal entity, and are results prepared according to Spanish accounting rules. The results announced by the VW Group on the 14th of March 2023 showed the results of the SEAT Group of companies and according to international accounting rules. And just for your information, the SEAT Group results include the results of SEAT Deutschland and SEAT Deutschland Niederlassung. In this chart, we can see the various reported results. And importantly, you will notice that irrespective of whether we are talking about the SEAT Group results using international accounting rules or the SEAT SA single legal entity result according to Spanish accounting rules, irrespective, we achieved an improvement of more than 250 million euros versus 2021. However, it is important to note that these results were after providing one-time restructuring costs. This means before the one-time restructuring costs, the result improvement in 2022 is more than 500 million euros versus 2021. Last year, at our annual press conference, I mentioned that our business structure was not robust enough. When volumes decreased in 2019 and 2020 due to the impacts of the COVID pandemic, we ended up making significant losses. Our break-even point was simply too high. And a little more than 1 year ago, we defined and launched 16 work streams to address this. And these work streams covered revenue management initiatives, which included optimizing model mix, line mix, and option mix, a strong focus on cost management, including overhead cost reductions, optimization of general investments, and various other efficiency improvements. The ongoing and focused activities in these 16 work streams have created the momentum and the basis for this turnaround in our normal operating profits, where we have had a turnaround of more than 500 million euros in 2022. Despite the very high customer demand, our volume of cars sold in 2022 was 19,104 units, or 4% lower than 2021, only due to the semiconductor shortages. Nevertheless, our turnover grew by 1.26 billion euros, or 14% versus 2021. In terms of average revenue per vehicle, we achieved a very significant growth of 18% versus 2021, with an average revenue per unit of 19,920 euros versus 16,850 euros in 2021. This was achieved through an increase in the proportion of Cupra models, which have higher revenues per car, as well as due to an aggressive revenue management strategy. In addition, we kept our export momentum, with 82% of our turnover coming from exports. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization grew from 278 million euros in 2021 to 505 million euros in 2022, or 798 million euros in 2022 if one excludes the one-time restructuring cost provision impacts. And this is the highest level in the past 5 years. Operating cash flow was 625 million euros in 2022, and this reflects an improvement of 247 million euros versus 2021. After investing 4.4 billion euros during the previous 4 years, we continued on our aggressive investment path and invested almost 900 million euros in R&D and investment expenditures in 2022. This shows our strong and ongoing commitment to bring products, new products to the market and continue building the Cupra brand. In 2022, we commenced the modernization and preparation of our Martorell plant for electric vehicle manufacture. Importantly, our 5-year strategic plan for the following 5 years, for the period 2023 to 2027, includes an ongoing high level of investments, with more than 5 billion euros in investments and R&D expenditures. The basis for sustainable, positive financial results has to be provided not only by good sales volumes, but also by the quality of the sales that one makes, as well as by the right level of cost efficiency. Although 2022 was a difficult year of lost volume opportunities due to the ongoing semiconductor shortages, the growth of the Cupra volumes, the work done in revenue management, and the cost and efficiency improvements nevertheless led to a significant financial turnaround, which I will now summarize for you. Turnover reached 10.5 billion euros, an increase of 1.257 billion euros, or 14% higher than 2021. Operating result of SEAT SA, the single legal entity, after one-time restructuring costs was negative 114 million euros, but this represents an improvement of 257 million euros versus 2021. And importantly, before one-time restructuring costs was a positive 179 million euros representing an improvement of 550 million euros versus 2021. After-tax result reached 68 million euros, which is an increase of 324 million euros versus 2021. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization after one-time restructuring costs was 505 million euros, which is an increase of 227 million euros versus 2021. But before one-time restructuring costs was 798 million euros, representing an increase of 520 million euros versus 2021. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization as a percent of turnover after one-time restructuring costs was 4.8%, representing an increase of 1.8 percentage points versus 2021. And if one considers before one-time restructuring cost, 7.6% return on sales, this represented an increase of 4.6 percentage points versus 2021. And finally, operating cash flow was 625 million, which is an increase of 247 million versus 2021. 2022 was an important step in the turnaround and transformation of our company. But it is not the last step. We will continue working on our transformation strategy, including our 16 work streams. We are working intensively in a targeted way on all these key drivers. And this includes the process of identifying and maximizing all possible synergies within the VW Group and within the Iberian Peninsula and even beyond. The good work carried out in 2022 was a team effort involving 14,000 employees. And the sustainable improvements that were implemented provide us with an even better foundation from which to further develop our company in 2023 and beyond. And it is our aim to make a further significant improvement in 2023. We are on the right path to sustainable profitability. Our transformation is accelerating. Thank you.
So thank you, David. Great numbers. We've taken you through our performance for last year, so now let's turn to 2023. The year's already off to a strong start with 71,500 cars delivered in the first 2 months of the year. The SEAT brand sales are up 12%, while Cupra has seen an exponential growth of 75% in the first 2 months, making us very optimistic about the rest of the year. Now, if 2022 was the kickoff of our transformation, 2023 is the year of its acceleration. It's also the year that marks the 30th anniversary of SEAT in Martorell. Now, we built Martorell to create, back then, a new era of growth for SEAT. And now we have entered a new era that marks the next big milestone in the history of this company. Again, we are investing strongly. a total of 3 billion euros into electrifying the plant of Martorell. And at the same time, SEAT is taking the leadership for the technical development of the small BEV cluster for the Volkswagen Group. This is a family of cars that will help to democratize sustainable electromobility in the future. And by 2025, we will be producing different models, small BEV models, for the different Volkswagen Group brands in Martorell. Martorell is becoming one of the Volkswagen Group's production hubs for electric vehicles and a crucial part of the electric vehicle value chain in Spain. At this point, I would like to hand over to Thomas Schäfer, the President of SEAT Supervisory Board, who would like to share with us a few words on one of the future electric cars that we're going to be building here in Spain.
Hola from Hamburg in Germany. As the CEO of Volkswagen brand, I've just presented the ID.2all show car to the world media that goes into production in 2025 in Martorell. So basically it's half a Spaniard. And this is also the right step forward for the main factory of SEAT and its transformation into electric mobility. The series version of the ID.2all is based on the small BEV platform, and that is designed for different group brands and will electrify not only Martorell but also the Pamplona plant. Our overall goal as brand group volume is making e-mobility accessible, and you as SEAT play a crucial role in that. And together with the construction of the PowerCo cell factory in Valencia, that will help for Spain to maintain its position as the second largest car manufacturer in Europe. SEAT has the right team, and with Wayne Griffith, the right leader to deliver on the plan. Last year's results were really good. Congratulations on that. Well done. So keep up the pace and good luck.
So, Thomas, we will definitely keep up the pace. We know the future is electric, and we have a clear vision and a motivated team who are determined to make this transition happen. Our ambition for Martorell is to have a production capacity of 500,000 cars, electric vehicles a year in the midterm. And in total, we are projected to manufacture 3 million small BEVs across the Martorell and Pamplona plants between 2025 and 2030. Now, we're also busy and working hard to try to bring a second vehicle platform to our plant in Martorell, together as well with the battery pack assembly. It's essential that we bring these projects to Martorell to increase our share of the value chain and remain competitive. The entire 10 billion euro investment from the Future Fast Forward project is not only being invested in Martorell, but also in Pamplona and in the Gigafactory in Valencia. Future Fast Forward is benefiting Spanish society and is projected to have a positive impact on the economy of more than 21 billion euros, as well as an additional 2.4 billion euros in tax revenues. With a great potential for renewable energy, I think Spain has everything it needs to become a hub for electromobility in Europe. Our company is also on a journey towards becoming more sustainable. Later this year, SEAT will launch its new ESG strategy, and one of the key pillars will be a circular economy hub in Barcelona. This will allow us to fully capture the value that the car and battery offer through industrial projects of reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling, offering a sustainable industrial plan for our plant in Barcelona. However, to create a sustainable society, we need to accelerate urgently the sales of electrical vehicles in Spain now, and also speed up on the implementation of the charging infrastructure. And I'm pleased that the Spanish government has recognized that we have to do more, and that we are now in constructive discussions about how we work together to find solutions. We need concrete results. We have no more time to lose. Now, you've heard me say many times that the future is electric, And for our company, that means the future is Cupra.
We are what we do. We supported our team. We show a new icon. We made them understand why. We face uncertainty. We jump from the stratosphere. We make wishes to fulfill them. We fell in love in 7 seconds. We went backwards to go further. We looked at things through a new prism. And we follow our impulse to remind the world why we were born.
So I think all of you know that Cupra is still a very young brand. And in only 5 years, we're hitting one record after another at a remarkable pace. With over 300,000 deliveries since the launch of Cupra, we have created a brand that stands out because it stands for something. Fantastic and provocative design combined with emotion and sporty performance. Cupra is for the new generation, looking for something different from what their parents and grandparents used to drive. And at the beginning, many people doubted us, but our message is clear. We are the unconventional challenger brand that's here to stay. Cupra is now the company's major lever in terms of turnover. In 2022, Cupra represented 40% of the company's turnover, and this year, Cupra will represent more than half of the company's turnover. 2023 will be the year we not only consolidate Cupra's position in Europe, but prepare for our biggest product offensive, which begins in 2024 with the launch of the Cupra Tavascan. Looking to the future, Cupra has big ambitions. By 2030, we want Cupra to be one of the top 100 best global brands. Our 6 Cupra levers for future growth will help us get there. Our first lever is obviously our product range, the Cupra range. And from next year, our new heroes for a new era will join our current lineup, beginning with the Cupra Tavascan and Cupra Terramar in 2024 and the Cupra Urban Rebel in 2025. These vehicles, I believe, will allow us to enter new segments and new markets and achieve our midterm ambition for Cupra to reach 500,000 sales annually. Our second lever for growth is globalization. As you know, this year we launched in Australia, and we will be also launching the Cupra Born now in Australia and New Zealand as the first step towards electrification in global markets. We'll also be opening new Cupra City garages in the heart of 4 of the world's most iconic cities in Berlin, Paris, Madrid, and Manchester. And beyond 2023, we're already planning on new Cupra City garages in Istanbul and in Vienna. As part of our ambition to be truly global, we're at the moment analyzing a possible entry into the North American market. At the moment, we're testing our brand there with potential clients where we think Americans would love Cupra's design and great performance. And I have to say, the first results back from these tests are very promising and very positive. Our third lever is our dealer network. Cupra in Spain has just been rated the most valued brand by its dealers, and I think Cupra is now one of the most attractive brands for dealers in Europe to invest in. This year, our Cupra Master network, our number of Cupra Masters will grow by 500, taking to the total number of Cupra Masters of 2,000. And we'll also open an additional 300 Cupra garages around the world, taking our total network to 700 by 2024. Brand partnerships are our fourth lever. Existing partnerships with brands such as Football Club of Barcelona and Primavera Sound take Cupra beyond the automotive world. And we want to expand our relationships with even more partners that inspire the new generation. And this year, we've already partnered with Gobic, the cycling brand, and later in the year, we'll work with an even wider mix of partners in our MetaHype, Cupra's platform in the metaverse. These 4 levers take us to our the fifth lever, profitability. Last year, we increased Cupra global sales by 93%, and we want to keep on that trajectory. The growth of Cupra strengthens our margin, which allows us to invest and continue our transformation, ensuring our success not just for today, but also for the decades ahead. Now, I've always said it's the people who make the brand, and without a doubt, that's why the Cupra tribe is our 6th, and in my opinion, the most important lever for our success. Our passionate team in Martorell, the passionate Cupra masters in our dealers, our customers, our ambassadors, and of course you, the media, all play an important part in the next chapter of our story. And the recognition we've received from you, from the media, motivates us to keep pushing forward. Just last month, we were named one of the trendiest brands by Automotorsport, one of Germany's most prestigious automotive publications, just behind BMW, Porsche, and Mercedes. I think a remarkable result for a brand that is just 5 years old. Our Cupra tribe will be the key to everything we achieve in the next few years. They're the people that go out and live the brand every day. Now, I'll have a lot more to say about Cupra next month in our Berlin event at the Exponential Impulse presentation. And I don't want to give too much today away about what we're going to be doing there, but I promise you it won't be boring, and we'll also be holding the world premiere of the Cupra Tavascan. And I look forward to seeing you all there, hopefully. So before I wrap up, let me draw your attention to the 3 points that are the most important, that prove, I think, that the future for SEAT and the future for Cupra is brighter than ever. First of all, our turnover last year was more than 10.5 billion euros, the 2nd highest in our company's 73-year history, combined with, as David presented, a 500 million euro positive turnaround on previous year. Second, electrification is at full speed, with the largest single industrial investment of 10 billion euros in Spanish history. The Future Fast Forward project and our people, the real drivers of our change. We are writing together, I think, automotive history in Spain. And last but not least, we are taking Cupra to the next level, cementing its position in Europe as the fastest growing brand and expanding to the rest of the world as we prepare our biggest product rollout ever. And again, this is just the beginning of a very, very bright and electric future. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, David, for your presentations. I'd also like to thank Thomas Scheffer for taking the time to record his message for us and for his support. It's been a very busy morning, of course, and I'm sure many of you have many questions. So let's start the Q&A, which will last around 30 minutes. Those of you who are following us through the platform, please use the chat to send all your questions. And for the journalists that are here today with us in Casa SEAT, please raise your hand when I give you the floor. Introduce yourself with your name, the media, and who you want to address the question to. You can ask questions in both English or Spanish. All answers will be obviously in English. And if we don't have enough time to cover all the questions, you can ask us the questions after the event and we will send you all the answers. So let's start with the first question. Who wants to start? Okay. In the back. After Dolores, after you're second. There was a first question on the back.
Iván Gutiérrez de TV3. Durante su discurso, señor Griffiths ha hablado de flexibilidad, ha hablado de reducción de costes. Ya se han pactado 1.330 bajas para realmente afrontar este reto. ¿Se tendrán que afrontar más bajas en los próximos años para conseguir esa flexibilidad? Gracias.
No, I mean, I think it was a strategic, important decision for us to make the provision last year that we didn't actually have to make for the restructuring of the company. I think that shows our strategic foresight. However, our priority is to maintain employment in Martorell and in Barcelona and not reduce employment. The actions we took were just to be basically on the safe side, but all of us are working together to, as I said before, achieve a second platform for Martorell on the one hand, and other elements in the value chain, such as a battery assembly, that would help create jobs as well. So our objective is to try and maintain employment.
Dolores, yours.
Álvarez, quería saber varias cosas. Una referente a la segunda plataforma. ¿En qué plazo cree que habrá una decisión y qué porcentaje de posibilidades le concede? Y luego también querría saber si la marca SEAT, tal como se está diciendo, va a quedar especializada en lo que se llama la micromovilidad y en servicios de movilidad.
Okay. The question goes, I think, hand in hand, because regarding the second platform, we at the moment would not have the capacity at the moment for a second platform. We have enough to do with the small BEV, getting ready for the first platform that will be here in 2025, that we will be building not just our car, but also a Volkswagen model, as you heard from Mr. Schäfer before. At the same time, we will be continuing building the Formentor and the Leon, and also, hopefully, if all the regulations with the EU7 get sorted out in a sensible way, continue with the Ibiza and Arona. So towards the end of this decade, we don't really have the capacity for an additional platform. But obviously, those decisions need to be taken with good time. So we are discussing different possibilities. I don't think we're going to get to a decision in this planning round, but we will continue looking at that for the future. With regards to SEAT, and the future of SEAT, we're happy now that we're starting to get semiconductors in a reasonable supply. So I'm sure we will see a SEAT coming back, because we have a great range of products. We see it with the SUVs, also with plug-in hybrid models. And we see that the demand of SEAT is still very, very high. And I think we're in the ideal situation of having two brands that complement each other very, very well. On the one hand, SEAT with combustion cars, and the future Cupra with electric cars. Your question on SEAT's entrance in micromobility, we're already there with SEAT Mo, with two-wheelers, and we're looking at extending that project, making that project bigger, and discussing with external partners the possibility of doing a micromobility four-wheeler project in the future. So I think SEAT in the future and in an electric future needs to transform as a brand as well, and the role of SEAT could be the brand in the Volkswagen Group offering electro-mobility in an urban environment for younger customers.
Marcos? Marcos Lamela.
Sí, el plan de ajuste para los 1.300 trabajadores que se darán de baja de manera voluntaria a partir de los 61 años, de aquí al 2026, ¿se paga con estos 292 millones de provisión o harán falta más fondos? ¿Esto incluirá también los 300 trabajadores de Gearbox en el Prat? ¿Qué futuro tiene esta planta? ¿Y quedan dentro de este bloque o esto requerirá un ajuste añadido? Gracias.
The necessary restructuring actions that we need to take over the next few years are all in the provision that we made this year, whether that be early retirement or any other adjustments we have to make. However, also our objective in Prat, as in Barcelona as well, remains to maintain employment and not reduce employment.
Now we have a question online from Alex from Drive in Australia. The question is, does Cupra plan to launch any vehicle larger than the Tavascan and Terramar? Possibly a BEV, sedan or wagon? Are there any plans to phase out the current Cupra Ateca or launch a new generation?
I think our new heroes for a new generation that we showed in Terramar last year show where we want to go with the different models. So our focus over the next couple of years is going to be on the three electrified models on the Cupra Terramar, which you could see as a possible replacement, although it is slightly bigger than a Cupra Ateca. The Cupra Tavascan as our first crossover SUV electric car, and the Cupra Urban Rebel. That, together with the Cupra Formentor and the Cupra Leon, gives us, I think, a very competitive range of cars that will keep us busy at least for the next 5 years. Beyond the next 5 years, then obviously we are thinking about a lot of other different ideas and different models for Cupra, but it would be too early today to speculate.
Yes. Question on the back. Johan?
Hi, thank you. I wanted to, when you were saying that by 2025 we will be producing different BEV models of the different Volkswagen brands in Martorell, just wanted to confirm this would be the 3 models that were reported some time ago. And then when you were saying, if I understood correctly, this decade we don't have the capacity for an additional platform, this would be that you would rule out that a new EV platform to Martorell would take place in this decade? Just to be sure, that was what I understood. Thank you.
Okay. Now, regarding the small BEV family that we will be producing, the Volkswagen Group will build in Spain between Pamplona and Martorell the different models for the different Volkswagen Group brands on this platform. And specifically in Martorell, we will be building our car, obviously the Cupra Urban Rebel, together with the car that Thomas Schäfer just announced from Volkswagen, the ID.2, will also be built in Martorell. Regarding the timing on a second platform, we have to be, I think, flexible. At the moment, we don't know how fast the shift to electrification is going to happen, on the one hand. We also have uncertainty, on the other hand, with the EU7 regulation on how we continue building combustion cars. However, we think we need to have both, particularly in this transition time. So build combustion cars and build electric cars. However, I would not rule out the need of a second platform before the end of this decade. I'm just saying at the moment our current plan, if the EU7 regulation would allow us to continue building towards the end of the decade combustion cars and the small BEV cars, and without the necessary need for an additional platform. But I wouldn't rule out that we try and get an additional platform before.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Buenos días, Ignacio Anasagasti de la Tribuna Automoción. Quería saber si en las cifras que habéis dado de previsión de producción de Small BEV entre 2025 y 2030, que habláis de 3 millones de vehículos, si ahí se incluirían también la posibilidad de fabricar nuevas versiones adicionales de los Small BEV ya adjudicados, el de Cupra, el Urban Rebel y el ID.2, por ejemplo. Y la otra cuestión que quería preguntar tendría que ver con el Hub de Economía Circular. Quería saber si podías dar algún detalle sobre la inversión que se va a acometer en este proyecto y el potencial de empleo que puede tener en un primer momento y a largo plazo. Gracias.
So no, regarding the 3 million small BEV to be built in Spain between 2025 and 2030, that includes all of the models of the Volkswagen Group on this platform built in Martorell and in Pamplona. And regarding the circular economy project, it's too early I think today to give you an idea how much employment that will create. We're still at a very early stage in this project, but we're very committed into making it happen. And when the project is a bit further developed, then we'll give you more details.
Estela. ¿No? ¿Ya está? Vale.
Eric Alián, del diario Expansión. Yo quería saber, el gobierno ya ha comenzado a hacer pagos del PERTE 1 a SEAT. Más o menos, ¿qué porcentaje se ha pagado ya de las ayudas?
Do you want to do that?
Okay, so we have to differentiate between subsidies to SEAT SA and to other organizations, first of all. And the subsidies come in 2 forms. Some are subsidies that come directly from central government, part of the PERTE, and some are subsidies that will come from regional government. We have approximately 35 million euros of subsidies that will come from the central PERTE, central government. And approximately 89 million will come from regional sources, regional government sources. You add the two together, It's a number of around about 127 million euros that SEAT SA, the legal entity SEAT SA, will benefit from. In 2022, in our financial result in 2022, we only had a positive impact of 11 million euros from those 127 odd million euros that will come over the next years. Of course, there are other party benefits which will be earned or paid to other operations, VW Group operations in Spain. For example, our factory, the VW factory in Navarra, Volkswagen Navarra, as well as incentives for the battery plant in Sagunto, which was announced last week, which commenced last week.
Okay, we have a question online from Andrea Malan from Automotive News Global. Is there any sign of order intake slowdown in the first months of 2023? What is the forecast for sales in 2023? Cupra Plus SEAT. Wayne.
I said in my speech before that after the start of the year, at the strong start of the year with over 70,000 cars in the first 2 months, that we're very optimistic. And when I look at the March number as well, very, very optimistic about both brands. Actually, we have a huge record order bank. Our order bank with, I think, around 180,000 cars has never been as high as it is. So we're very busy delivering orders. Do we see a weakening of demand? In some markets, there is a bit of a slowdown on electric cars. Some of the governments have reduced their subventions, so we've seen some impact there. But we still have more demand than we can supply. So we're in a luxury position, actually. And I'm not worried about achieving the numbers this year because of demand. I would be more worried about the semiconductors.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, Alistair Crooks from Auto Express in the UK. Just a quick question regarding SEAT's future. Are there any new road cars in development with a fully electric powertrain or internal combustion engine in the future? And that's to Wayne Griffiths.
Okay, thank you. The new electric models that we're focusing on at the moment are for Cupra, because we cannot electrify both brands at once. And as I said before, I think the ideal complement of the two brands being in the market at the same time, particularly in this transition phase, makes a lot of sense. Regarding the future plans for the consumer brand SEAT, I said before we're working on a strategy for micro-mobility, a two-wheeler, four-wheeler, and decisions or further decisions on electrification of the SEAT brand will be taken at a later date. We don't need to take them at the moment. Those decisions that we've taken are focusing on Cupra.
Hola, buenos días. Muchas gracias por la presentación. David Arroyo de News. Mi pregunta es, ¿qué nivel de riesgo debido al Euro 7 contemplan para el Arona, que creo que es el coche más vendido de SEAT? Y desde su perspectiva, ¿cuál debería de ser la decisión final en Europa para que todo continúe en ese nivel razonable al que usted aludía hace un momentito? Gracias.
We at SEAT, together with the Volkswagen Group, also ANFAC in Spain, and at a European level with ACEA, are discussing with the European Commission and the local governments as well to try and find a way of being able to implement the EU7 in a way that's not going to have a negative impact on employment. The current EU7 legislation in its form and timing would lead to considerable impact, particularly in terms of the small cars that are built here in Spain, the smaller cars. It will be very difficult in that period of time to make those cars conform. Therefore, we think that it's unrealistic in implementation already in 2025, and are therefore requesting that to be done later and to be done in a more pragmatic approach.
I have a question from Felix Cerezo from El Mundo. Referring to the end of the combustions in Germany, should Spain adopt a similar position to Germany?
the end of, I don't think it's a German position. I think there's a European position on, and it's not on combustion cars, it's actually on, at the moment, on zero emissions from 2035. And I don't think any country or manufacturer really questions the need to move to reduce emissions fit for 55 by 2030, and then from 2035 onwards to only produce zero emission cars, whether they be electric cars, hydrogen or synthetic fuel or whatever you want to do. So I think at the end of the day will be a European approach of all countries in Europe that I think all support the objective of, which is a tough objective, but a necessary objective of getting to zero emissions by 2035.
I have another question from Andreas Grimm in Germany. Will there be any new classic car models from SEAT at all? And then the second question, you have addressed the car trade as a partner. Is the dealer network being expanded, or is SEAT SA relying on Cupra garages operated by the company?
The first question on the future of SEAT, I think I've already answered. The second question on our dealer network, the Cupra City garages are not run by us. I think there's a misunderstanding. The Cupra City garages around the world and in the markets are run by our dealers. We help the dealers by finding the locations, making the investments, but we always count on a dealer network in our future distribution strategy. And I think it's actually one of the reasons why Cupra, as a brand new brand, has been able to grow so quickly, because we have this strong dealer network already in place. And I think that's why we've seen our exponential growth in comparison to other startup brands that are coming new to the market that don't have the dealer network. So we count on our dealer network, our strong SEAT and Volkswagen Group dealer network for the future. Also in our future models and agency systems that we're going to introduce for the electric models. So no, we count on our network.
Perfect. Any more questions on the floor here? Yes?
Tengo entendido que el ERTE que tenéis aprobado acaba en junio. ¿Hay planes de prorrogarlo o ya se levantará aquí?
I would hope that we don't have to prolongate it. It's not our objective. We want to build as many cars as we can. And I hope that the semiconductor situation continues to improve. However, there is so much uncertainty, not just on the semiconductor supply, other issues as well, that I think we're going to have to get used to living in a world of uncertainty. That means we will have to remain flexible and use all instruments to maintain this flexibility. But I would hope we wouldn't have to use it in the second half of the year, and that we can get back to really exploiting our full production potential here in Martorell.
Sí, una de las claves del eléctrico sobre todo es dar fiabilidad al usuario para que tenga infraestructura de carga. El otro día decía que SEAT se había puesto las pilas justamente para esto. ¿Cree que el gobierno se ha puesto las pilas, o las administraciones se han puesto las pilas para proveer de puntos de carga el país y al final que el mercado pueda responder? Gracias.
I think during the recent meetings we've had at an industry level with the Spanish government, that we are making progress, because there is a recognition, I think also at government level, of the need that we need to speed up. Not only in terms of the charging infrastructure that you're talking about, but also there's no need for charging infrastructure if you don't have the cars. And if Spain is only selling 10% of electrified cars out of the whole volume, and of that 10% there's only 3% that are battery electric vehicles, then you get into this gallina y huevo, no chicken and egg. You need the cars out there, and then the infrastructure will become a business and will develop hand in hand. So I think there is recognition from the government that we need to do on both areas. So incentivizing electric mobility in Spain, as other European governments have done, and quite successfully. That's why when you look at Europe, on average at 20% electrified, it can't be that Spain is half of the level of Europe or half of the level of our neighboring country here, Portugal. If we want to become the hub of electromobility in Europe, it's a contradiction. So we have to speed up. There's recognition that we have to do that. We're discussing actions on how we can do that together. It's not just us looking at the government, what they need to do. We need to do our part as well. And I think one of the most important steps will be the small BEV platform here in Spain, making electromobility more accessible. So democratizing electromobility, that will be an important step, but we can't wait till 2025. And I think we've already lost too much time. The last 2 years, we've not been advancing as fast enough as we need to if we want to hit the Fit for 55 target for 2030, or more importantly, to have the market changed within a period of 10 years to just selling basically electric cars from 2035 onwards. So we have to speed up.
Dolores.
Un matiz. Bruselas ha abierto la puerta a permitir la venta de coches de combustión más allá del 2035, es una cosa que se está hablando. ¿Podrían variar esto los planes de electrificación, demorar un poco los plazos?
No, we are certainly at SED committed to electrifying our model range by 2030, or earlier than the 2035. And I think the discussions in Brussels at the moment are less around combustion or electric, but more about you have to fulfill the zero emissions and whether combustion cars can be part of that. So the 2035 discussion is for me more of a discussion around zero emissions and how you get there with which technologies. But we remain committed, particularly from 2030 to 2035 onwards, on electrifying our model range and electrifying our company.
Ignacio.
Quería preguntar una cuestión en relación a las sinergias que hablabais anteriormente. Quería saber si a futuro, dentro de la península ibérica, el grupo, y SEAT específicamente, contempla desarrollar sinergias industriales con la fábrica que tiene el grupo en Portugal. Esa sería la primera cuestión. Y la otra, en términos financieros, quería saber en qué medida habéis conseguido rebajar el break-even, el punto de equilibrio de la compañía con los ajustes de costes, y si tenéis algún compromiso respecto al grupo para alcanzar un margen operativo respecto al EBIT en los próximos años.
Okay, I'll leave the difficult finance question to my colleague, but I do know the answer. Regarding your Peninsula Iberica synergies, in the first phase, I think it's clear that our priority needs to be on the new platform that's coming to Spain, so the small BEV. So therefore, I think the biggest synergies we're looking at the moment is between Pamplona and Martorell. And we work together there. Our vice president for production comes from Pamplona, so I think we're seeing already an intensified cooperation between both plants in Spain. How that will later involve Portugal, we will see then, but that's not in the first phase. It's not the first priority. And the break-even question and margins, I'll leave to you, David.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's a very good question about the break-even level, because what we've tried to do in our restructuring is to make sure that what we do makes us structurally more robust. One of the problems of our history was when volumes went up, we made profits. When volumes went down, we immediately made losses. So if you go back 12, 18 months, our company had a break-even volume of around about 48,000 cars a month. So we had to produce and sell 48,000 cars a month to achieve a break-even, zero profit loss. A year later, we've reduced the break-even to around about 38,000. So from 48,000 to 38,000. So a significant improvement in the financial structure and sustainability of our company. Your question about target return on sales, we steer our business on return on sales and also return on investment. We achieved a significant improvement in our return on sales, as I presented, from the previous year to 2022. 2023, we want to make the next step ahead. It's not our policy to disclose publicly our return on sales targets, but for certain we are planning through our strategy, which Wayne explained, the growth strategy, the Cupra growth strategy, the expansion of our range, the expansion of our markets, and the improvement of our performance in the various markets where we're at. We are planning further significant improvements in our return on sales and return on investment in 2023 and 24-25.
One last question, because we need to close the Q&A, from José Luis García, El Español. Can you confirm that the Urban Rebel will have a name that has a relation to Barcelona?
Good question. Most of our cars have a relation certainly to Spain and Spanish names, and I think you can assume it will also have a Spanish name, Cupra Formentor, Cupra Born, and there are many other neighborhoods in Barcelona that we could look at for names of Cupra Urban Rebel, but obviously I think wait till the Barcelona Motor Show and we may announce something there, we'll see.
Exactly. Perfect. So thank you, Wayne and David, and of course to everyone for all your questions. We will now conclude the streaming of the event. So thank you everyone who has followed us online. Goodbye to you.